In the entertainment industry, professionals of all disciplines use their skills to create what we know and love. This series explores the minds of the men and women who work in this demanding field. These are their stories. Hello, everybody. This is Eddie Bauer. Welcome to episode 2. That's right, 2 of Behind the Glass, my conversation series. My guest today, oh man, I can't even go down the list of all the stuff he's done. Many placements in television, including Keeping Up with the Kardashians, 90 Day Fiance, Laugh After Dark, Snapped, Thousand Pound Sisters on TLC, I think. He was also the keyboard player for KC and the Sunshine Band, which, I mean, that goes way back into our history. And again, a former student of mine, so I'm honored and privileged to have a good friend of mine, Robert E. Lee the Fourth. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, considering, and thanks for having me on.
Hey, it's a pleasure. Thanks for being here with me. So as we kind of get into 2021 now, I mean, a lot of things has changed as far as how we do our business. I mean, we're basically doing this conversation here virtually. Um, how has the business changed for you now that kind of everything is virtual almost and mobile? How are you able to stay relevant in the business?
Well, luckily, as a songwriter and composer, it's sort of natural for us to be working remotely, uh, from the studio to the director or to the music supervisor. So nothing has really changed on that end. To be honest with you,
Pretty much the same
I
deal,
stay locked
right?
in my studio. I'm locked up here. I send emails. I bounce, send the files over, and
Yep.
and and yeah, I'm a studio rat. So nothing has really changed that much. I'm very thankful to be writing music, and having the ability to do that, versus playing,
Hmm.
um, and I'm not relying on, live events, um, for income. So I'm very thankful for that. Um, but yeah, nothing's changed very much.
Cool. Well, let my audience know uh, what it is you do. I mean, I've already known this from day one, but for those who don't know, just tell them a little bit about yourself and your exponential growth in this business. It's amazing to see, man. It really is.
Yeah. So basically, I started playing piano at 6 years old. Classically trained, did all the competition stuff, as far as classically, um, wise. And about high school age, I discovered contemporary music,
Hmm.
music on the radio. Uh, got into writing music, got into making beats, got into, messing with songwriters and other songwriters, singers, rappers. Started to write pop music. Um, After that, I went to Musicians Institute after high school, where I met you and went and started to learn how to make my music sound good, because that's important. You can have all the notes in the world. You can, at that time I was on Reason, doing stuff on Reason, but if you don't know how to mix or make your stuff knock, it's people aren't going to listen to it. They're not going to
Hey,
like it.
y'all better
It
pay
don't matter
attention.
how good those notes are, it got to sound good.
Right. Pay attention
So
to that, everybody. You got to make it sound good. You got to make it sound good.
exactly, as you can, you know if you're not a mix, that's everything. So Shortly after that, I started uh, moved to Vegas, started playing piano for an act in Vegas. Then I got the opportunity to play with Casey and the Sunshine Band. One led to another. I had a friend who said, "Hey, there's a music supervisor and music library looking for music for TV shows," and I hopped on it. I said, "Word, let's do it." And so I wrote some tracks. The supervisors loved it, and 5 tracks turned into 10, 20, 30, 100, 200. At one time I was writing about 100 songs or tracks a year
Wow.
for the TV
Wow.
shows. And they just loved the work I was on, and placements got better. I started just background music, then I moved up to writing themes, and then started doing indie films, and um, yeah, I just floated all over the place when it came to that. Whatever opportunity came to me, I just did it 10 times harder than I think my peers at that time. I mean, if a supervisor said I need 5 tracks, I'd send in 20 tracks. Why not? And so I was just blessed to have a bunch of placements to where now I mostly that's how I make my income is through the royalties.
Okay.
And I almost can't believe it because I'll never forget my first royalty check was $48 and some odd cents, and I thought, oh my gosh, I spent all this work. What the hell, you know? But as you get the more placements, it's the snowball effect.
Hmm.
It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and still today it gets bigger. So the more tracks you have out there, the more you're writing and getting those placements, the bigger it'll be. So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
that compound interest, my brother. Real quick, kind of elaborate on um, working with Casey and the Sunshine Band, especially for our younger audience.
All right.
How significant was that to be with a band who I grew up with when I was a youngster? You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure you were the same. To actually be a keyboardist for them and to actually work on songs and be traveling the road as part of that family. How significant was that for you in developing your mindset for the rest of your career?
Well, first, it was a huge honor. I was with them for 6 years through 2011 to around 2017. Huge, huge honor. Um, yeah, I mean, as a person who listens to hip hop, I'm playing tracks that's been sampled over and over and over again, from
Hmm.
Puff Daddy to Trick Daddy to you name it,
Yeah.
and so it was kind of surreal to and actually to learn the parts, my keyboard parts, and yeah, it was hard work at first, but it was an experience. That's all I can say. It was a hell of an experience. I traveled to places I never knew that were on the map, and literally, and um, tour life is no joke. It's fun, but it's a lot of work. A lot of 4 o'clock calls in the morning, and let me remind you, in this, I'm getting briefs from my music supervisor about they need this music for whatever, and so I'm in the hotel rooms. I've mixed songs in the airport, getting them. I've transferred songs to supervisors at the airport. You know, uh, to get the placements while I'm on tour. I went to MI for the second time while while
Yeah, I can remember that.
yeah, so I was a student during the week, Monday through Thursday, flying out on Thursday and come back on Sunday with Casey and Sunshine Band, and but I did, during that time I was with him. Casey was, and he still might be, was in this very creative mode. So he was writing songs. So we would be in a sound check, and he would get some spark of inspiration, and we would jam a little bit, and then he would start writing a song. And so I think during that time he wrote about 50, 60 songs, or it could be more.
Ouch.
So I got to see that kind of genius in the works, and um, I got, you'll like this, Eddie. In my time with Casey, we did a recording session over at Circle House in Miami.
Nice,
So, so
nice.
that was, that was a privilege to be to see Circle House, and that's where he cuts his records now.
Hmm.
And surreal, just surreal.
Cool,
Yeah.
man. At a young age, did you think that something like this would happen? I mean, um, when did you really started like honing your skills? Like I tell everybody, I started at a young age. I'm pretty sure every musician or creator started at at a very young age and kind of found their niche as they grew up. Was that the same for you?
For the most part, I think, I knew that I would be in music. As I started playing piano at a young age. My father's a musician. He's a trumpet player and a band director. His father was I believe, trombone player and a band director as well. On my mom's side, I have family members who are Zydeco musicians, won Grammys, and so forth. So music has always been a part of me. So I knew that I would do it for a living. I just didn't know what I would be doing. I thought maybe at young it was going to be maybe classical piano. Then I thought I was going to be some super producer, and then that turned into writing songs for TV and whatever. I drifted. Um, yeah, I drifted. So I just knew that I'd do something in music.
Well, I think that goes to your the ability to just expand your mind and knowing that you can't stay in one discipline. I was talking about this on my last episode with Queen Chameleon.
Mhm.
Just being able to expand your brand, expand your horizons, not being just stuck as a producer or a musician. Especially nowadays, you got to really think outside the box, and you did that early before even this whole pandemic hit, where now it's forcing people to kind of think
Yeah.
outside the box. So you started as a basically a classical piano player.
Yeah.
Uh, what
Classical
yeah,
nerd.
classical? I mean, you got jazz background, of course.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
had your family has roots in Louisiana, so that's
Mhm.
very jazz and blues influenced. Uh, what started you into getting into more of the television style of music that which involves a lot of R&B, mixture of pop and hip hop? Um,
Uh, yeah, that's what I got asked to do. So my first gig, my friend, he was a really cool guy, Kirk Blankenship. He goes by Academy Curve.
mhm.
Um, Phenomenal drummer, great drama rock composer, um, an industrial composer as well. His supervisor, music library, said, "I'm looking for hip hop tracks." That wasn't in his field. um, but specifically he said hip hop tracks with the classical influence.
Ooh.
Classical hip hop or is what it's called.
Mhm.
And so that was just like right, that was like perfect. It's like I know the classical game. I've been making beats since I was 14, merge it together and make it happen. So that was my first assignment. Um, yeah, I mean, it doesn't get any simpler than that. From that, then I grew on and I started to do other genres and I pretty much hit almost every single genre for television and film. But yeah, I started out with classical hip hop. It was kind of just handed to me like, okay, this is what you're gonna do.
Yeah, I mean, we never know which road we're going to take. We just weed our way through, and we kind of pick up this stuff as we go along, and
Yeah,
it's very inspirational to hear that even though you're classically trained, it doesn't necessarily translate into you having a classic career like that. You know, you can
absolutely.
branch into other different genres and disciplines and really take
Yeah,
off.
and it's so cool because now when you're a film composer, most of like well, I don't say most, but a lot of directors want uh hybrid music. And so that's, you know, uh, for instance, like the Brian Tyler stuff, who, which is amazing orchestrations, but also
Hmm.
having like rock influences and maybe even dubstep. And, so you're infusing these classical elements with the pop elements, and so it's just, yeah, it's great.
Uh, can you talk about your time at MI? I met you when you was fairly young. You still fairly young. I'm the one that's got the gray beards and stuff.
Hey, I'm starting to have some too.
But what changed for you after you went to MI? Because I know it changed a lot for me because I had just moved to California during that time. You know, I was still trying to find my way, and I can remember my grandmother gave me $1,000, and I had two
Yeah.
choices: either A, spend it on 1,000 CDs to put my product out, or B, take that money and invest it in going to school. And I was just like you, had I had just done, the opening for Ludacris and whatnot. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm rocking with this producing stuff. But I really wanted to make it sound professional. And that's what
Yeah.
led me to going to MI. And was that the same for you?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was such a music head. MI was like the only choice. I mean, I wasn't gonna go to UC whatever,
Right.
and do the courses I didn't want to take. I wanted to be immersed in music and immersed among my peers. And so MI to me was amazing because it was music 24/7, and I lived it and I loved it, and it was, and a great, my peers there were amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you had them as students,
Yeah.
like Anderson Pack and all these people, Ron Avant, and I mean, the list goes on and on how like amazing my peers were, and are. So that was sort of my big, why I decided to go to Musicians Institute.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, to think about that class of people that you had from Anderson Park. I still call them Breezy for crying out loud.
Me
That's
too.
how far we
Me
go
too. Breezy
back, right?
Lovejoy, right?
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Block Cheddar, I believe is what they went by, right?
Yeah.
Block Cheddar.
Like
Yeah.
when I tell people that story, that hey, I mixed his first mixtape. It was called
Yeah.
Cold Tapes, and he was known as
Yep.
Breezy Lovejoy. They laugh at me. I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody has to evolve somewhat, and the same with Ron, what he's doing with the Free Nationals, and I
With his
think
own, the T Nava.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I think another member of the Free Nationals was a student at MI. So
Yeah.
it has bred and continues to breed a lot of outstanding talent. You being one of them, and
I appreciate
after,
that.
hey man, I'm sorry for the gate that you just had a whole different frequency, a whole different vibration of how you were taking things, and you totally ran with it. After you graduated, was that when you started doing some work with KC? I know you was mentioning that.
No, no, it was many years after, actually. So I moved back home to a little town called Highland next to Redlands in the IE.
Okay.
And oddly enough, this is how you know, like, it's weird. Full circles and being around some great stuff. Believe it or not, I was running with well, not running, but making beats and collaborating with a producer called Ray Real, and he was part of this little thing I think at the time called Surf Club, which is uh, uh, a production, I guess a group, and it um, trying to I'm blanking right now, but give me a second. Gotcha. So let me start that over. I had to put my mind because it's still amazing to me on how this whole thing happened. I'm still like I have to go back. Okay, writing beats, went back home, met a producer named Ray Real who was like a part of this Surf Club production group. Hit Boy was a part of that whole situation.
Okay.
So everybody knows Hit Boy.
Yeah, everybody knows.
He's from the IE too, and so I started making beats with them. somehow, or with Ray Real at least, and then somehow I got a call from I got introduced to Karan Hall, and I started going with G1 and started messing with G1 a little bit. So I was kind of floating all over. I was like between making beats with Ray, sleeping at G1 studio and whatever not, just floating. I got an opportunity to come to Vegas. So I kind of stopped it all. I don't know, I kind of got burnt out. I kind of stopped it all. And I was like, you know what? I play piano. Um, I think I'm just going to go and do my own thing and play at the lounges here in Vegas. I got this great opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
After that, the lounge act ended. One of the musicians here in Vegas said, "Hey, Casey and the Sunshine Band is looking for a keyboard player. You need to go and audition for them." So I auditioned for them, and then I got the gig. So that was kind of the segue from me, you know, like you say, rolling with the other producers, hip hop guys, and me just saying, you know what, I think I want a little stability, in the cash flow department. I play keyboards. I'm gonna do that, for a little bit. I still produce tracks, hip hop tracks, or produce musicians, but yeah.
Can you talk about your experience with G? I I tell people all the time he's like, the one that put me on. Uh, he gave me my first major break on working with some big time artists, and I'm always indebted to him for that. What was your experience like working with him? Because we kind of know the same circle of people um,
Mhm.
in that camp, and I wouldn't say we had different experiences, but it was relative. So, can you talk about that a little
Well, I
bit?
mean, we probably did have different experiences, and this is the thing. I think in that time, it was a different mindset. So I went to school for engineering, right, at MI,
Mhm.
and so meeting G1 and being in that, I was sort of supposed to be engineering. But as soon as people find out I play piano, the engineering kind of just goes away.
Now you're
And
producing.
now I become a studio musician, right?
Right.
And so I never could, even though I went to school for engineering and I wanted to, be a producer and an engineer, I never could get the engineering to really pop off because everybody saw me as a musician. So my experience with G1 was, well, hanging with him, playing tracks. He needed keyboards on some tracks. I'd play. Every once in a while, he'd be like, "Man, you do Pro Tools, right?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get you on the Pro Tools." Never
Oh
happened at
God,
all.
that sounds so much
Not,
like G1.
I know, right? Never got me on the Pro Tools at all. I was always, you know, next to him on the keyboard, him pulling up some sound, saying, "Hey, I think Rhodes need to be on this," and and through that, I met some really amazing artists. Um, Another surreal experience. Another, because you never knew who was going to pop in the studio, right?
Yep.
At that time, Quick was at the studio a bunch. Um,
Look, man, real
yeah,
quick, I am trying to literally get him as a guest on my show. I have been butchering like G1's ear to like, hey, dude, come on, that's your homie. He's got to be on my show. I don't give a damn what you have to do. Just get him on my show. But Quick is a cool guy. He's a real cool guy.
yeah, it's cool. He grabbed me one time. He was in a studio. He had moved to the studios off of Cahuenga. He moved there
Hmm.
for a short time,
Yeah.
and he heard me play and he said, "Man, come over here." And so I laid down a bunch of tracks for him on a Pro Tools. He just pulled up sounds and I laid it. It was not even to a beat. I don't even think. And so I might be on some track somewhere. I don't know. I don't know.
Hey, you
Back
better.
then I was just back then I was so I just was I loved it. I was just like I say immersed in it that I didn't care what it was. I didn't care if I got points. I didn't care about role. I didn't care about nothing. I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna soak it all in and just play on whatever track I can play on, and keep it pushing. So
Well,
yeah.
boy, did you ever keep it pushing, especially when it comes to all your placements in television. I mean, the like I was explaining earlier in our segment here, the list is it's amazing, man. It really is, and I know a lot of my audience out there would like to know some of the difficulties and some of the things that you have to do before you get into a genre like that because it's very competitive. Uh, can,
Absolutely.
can you talk a little bit
Well,
about that?
absolutely. I mean, like I've mentioned before, whenever I got the briefs, I just work as hard as I can work. I pumped out as many tracks as I can play. It's a numbers game
Hmm.
at the end of the day. And so, and I never so I'll tell you this. So after I did the classical hip hop thing, I immediately went back and said, "Hey, is there anything else you need?" And he said, "Oh yeah, I need this kind of need a dance track." So those tracks I'm sadly did not make it. I got rejected a bunch of times. They're like, yeah, it just doesn't sound right. Doesn't something's not, we can't take it. We can't take it. And so after several trying, I there was a certain sound that I found out that they wanted.
Hmm.
Basically, I just watched a lot of television, got the sound, and then I was in basically. And then I would watch. I'm just such a proactive person that I would watch a certain TV show and then mimic that, what I heard, and then just send them a bunch of tracks without them even asking. No briefs. Oh, here's a bunch of tracks. I think it can go for X, Y, and Z,
Hmm.
and it just worked. Be proactive. Also, when your tracks are denied by the library or by the supervisor, doesn't necessarily mean the tracks are bad. Here's a interesting fact. There was a group of tracks that I um, that didn't quite make the cut for my first library that I was with. So I wanted to develop other relationships with other libraries. So I took the tracks that did not work for the first library and I pitched them to another library. Those set of tracks ended up on the Kardashians.
Wow. Wow.
They they were my some of my biggest earners. I mean, because the Kardashians, so he liked it. I knew what that sound was, so I just kept pumping those same tracks out. So through 2012 to 2016, a lot of tracks I wrote were that ended up on the Kardashian show.
What was
Uh,
that? What was that like to get the call? Like, hey, by the way, your Q is on uh, the Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Like, how did that make you feel? Like, whoa.
you know what? All enough, they don't call you. They don't call you. They just get placed. That's how that works. They don't say, "Hey, your stuff is placed." No, I happened to be watching the Kardashians and the song came on, and I was like, "Whoa!" I remember it. This is how old it was. It was when Kylie turned 16 years old.
Hmm.
That was the first episode. I was watching the episode. She was doing a 16 birthday party or whatever, and one of my songs came on, and I said, "Man, this is amazing. I never will forget it because it was a complete surprise." And yeah, they just kept coming after that. I ended up making a lot of tracks that ended up on the E channel.
Hmm.
So I ended up I mean I ended up making a lot of tracks that ended up on the E channel. So every time I watch the E channel, some of my tracks will come out. It's surreal. It's definitely surreal. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. I can't even begin to imagine the kind of euphoria you felt like every time you watch a program on a particular network. Your song pops on, and you know, I can only imagine how happy you was, how happy your family was for you breaking through like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so to give your watchers or listeners a tip, I actually have a TuneSat account. I don't know if you know about that. So basically, every every waveform has its own like fingerprint,
Hmm.
on print. And so there's a company out there called TuneSat that actually tracks all the music on TV, and I think some internet. And every time it's placed, it'll let me know. So I use that as a tracker, and know to know what's being placed, because the libraries won't tell you. Supervisors won't tell you sometimes if the track is placed or not.
Hmm.
So I use that for to know. And you want to know because sometimes they mess up those cue sheets. And so a lot of it, so it's 50% writing song and 50% chasing that money. you know, 'cause that's how it just how it works. My and even still I work with some of my publishers, and they'll ask me, hey, did you get a check for XYZ? Or I say, no, I didn't get anything from BMI or whatever. And they'll say, okay, well, we'll look into it, and we'll get that money. So yeah, half of it's writing it and half of it is chasing the money. So you want to make sure that you have a tune set or know that your music is being placed, because people will take it and not pay you for
Yeah, yeah. And
it.
that's a very good tip for you guys. Hey, you track your material. Make sure you track your material. Make sure those cue sheets are accurate so you can get paid. Uh,
Yeah,
I heard a lot of horror stories about songs getting placed on particular on shows or whatnot, and people not getting not even a not even a upfront fee, much less a royalty check. And it's like it's disheartening to know that your song is being played, but you're not getting any money for it. So, gotta
yeah,
you like you say, you got to be very proactive in making sure you track your material.
absolutely. And this, I'll segue with that. I will segue why I went back to MI. So
Oh, okay. Here we
Peace in the
go.
Sunshine Band playing, getting a lot of placements. I thought, oh, I should probably know the industry, business wise. So I went to MI for music business during 2014
Hmm.
uh, to learn what sync fees are, what mechanical fees are, what how to market your music, know how the contracts work. Because back then I was just signing anything, and um, so I went back to school to kind of learn, or not kind of, I went back to learn how to, what the business side is like, and how to not get gypped, how to get your money. And so, oddly enough, my teachers there at the music business program
Hmm.
said half of your work is going to be chasing your money. That's it. It's a pennies business. We're chasing pennies all over the place. You know, so
Yeah, I that's just like very, very crucial. Like you make sure you be diligent about making sure where your stuff is going and track your money. Like literally start tracking
absolutely,
your money. It's like the stock market. You want to invest in stock, but you don't want to check it to see if it's up or down. The same way with music, especially when you get it placed
absolutely,
on big production or big songs like that.
absolutely. It is an investment. Those royalties at BMI is an asset.
Yeah.
All that is it's part of it's your portfolio. You get a check you get your dividends. It's the same it's the same concept, and you could sell them. You could take them and transfer them to your kids, or so the ownerships could be transferred all around.
Hmm.
And going to MI, for the second time for music business, helped me understand that. Very
Cool.
vital.
Hey,
Yeah,
that's why I love that school, man. I still got a lot of good relationships with everybody at MI, and I tell everybody it's one of the it's one of the pillars of my life as far as changing it for the better. Had I not
yeah,
gone to that school, who knows what I might be doing as far as my career. I definitely would not be doing this. So
yeah,
uh, I appreciate everybody there, and meeting people like you is actually inspiring to
yeah.
just push
Likewise.
the envelope. Now I see your studio back there. Uh, you're
Yeah, a little something.
yeah, a little
I'm in
something. You
transition, but I have to have something.
so you started your own company, Creative Studios, right?
Yes.
Um, tell my listeners a little bit about that, please.
Backed into it as I do everything. I got interested in producing film. So Creative Studios Los Angeles as a content creating company. So we create film. Yours truly write for those films, and yeah, that's kind of what it is. I just created a company to create content, and we've done some amazing work on some Netflix shows as far as filming wise,
Nice.
um, and Amazon, of course. We produce a stand up comedy show called Laugh After Dark, which which is independent. We did it all ourselves. I wrote the theme song, wrote the bumpers. So, you know, it
Yeah,
was sort
that's
of my
right.
way. It was sort of my way to control, uh, my surroundings. I figured, it was one of those Jay-Z Dame Dash moments.
Yeah,
I remember him saying, "Hey, if nobody's gonna sign me, I'll sign myself." Right.
good point.
So at that time, I was a little bit frustrated. So this music thing is a lot, it's very competitive, and I'll just put it like this: I don't think I think I lost out on gigs for a particular reason. I'll put it like that. You know what I'm talking about, Eddie.
Yeah, I
But
do. I do.
and so
Yeah,
and so I thought
we are in the month of February now, so
I'm just gonna say, and I was like, man, that, I'm just gonna create my own content. I'm gonna produce my own films. And I invested in have cameras, have crews. I've done many productions, and I can let my musical creativities out on on my own film. So
wow.
that was sort of a thing. I wanted to control things 360. I still write for the libraries every now and again. But now I'm more of a filmmaker as well. So I'm double dipping. I'm doing both lanes.
Well, you know what? That kind of gets me into what I wanted to ask you is, excuse me, the mindset of expanding yourself. I mean, let's be honest. Did you really think as a musician that you would now become a filmmaker? Odds are probably not, but it was always in you. Now that you see it kind of come to fruition, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's some advice that you could give for, somebody who's kind of stuck in their lane and almost like procrastinating to come out of the box? What's your advice for
I don't have advice. Keep doing what you're doing because I'm gonna pass you up. I have no advice. It has to be in you, right?
them? Yeah,
I can't instill that work ethic in you. You have to be inspired to do it, and have other people inspire. I mean, um, and for me, I'm just a very inspiring person. I'm inspired. I'll tell you you're one of my favorite teachers at MI,
oh
but the
man, thank
person
you. Thank you.
who inspired me a lot was Jim Morgan.
Oh man.
Jim Morgan was so inspiring. I did not want to stop. He would tell me stories. We'd be at a studio. He would invite me to his studio. Back then at MI, you can do that.
Yeah, you
You know,
can.
uh, take your students back to your place and have a hands-on on the real.
Hmm.
And and it was so inspiring. So I think, for me, it's get inspired. Watch the documentaries you got to watch the Dame Dash videos, do whatever, get inspired to think outside the box. I can't, nobody can help you do that. I
Yeah.
don't think.
No,
So
you're right about that. It starts within, man. That's why I wanted you to pass
yeah.
that on. I got some
And
I got some quick hitter questions. I do this for all my guests. It's like out the box, uh, totally, uh, free spirited questions, as you want to
okay.
say. Um, I gotta ask you this. Do you like pineapple? Do you like pineapples on pizza?
No, hell no. My wife and my kids love it. They love it. We have, matter of fact, speaking of which, it's Friday, so we're gonna get some pizza tonight. And this is what I do. I go to Papa John's and I say, half of a pineapple and half of it
Apple is
and
regular,
and the
right?
whole pizza pepperoni. And I let them take the pineapple side, and I just take the pepperoni side. So
Yeah, like I said, I've been getting a lot of flack for that question, so I had to throw it out there. Now, I don't know if you remember, but especially where I'm at now, Chick-fil-A is big, like huge. In California, not so much, right? There was the one Chick-fil-A that they built on Sunset, and that
mhm.
pretty much is the only one in existence that I know of in the Los Angeles County area. Uh, Chick-fil-A or Popeyes? Which one has the better chicken sandwich, man? Come on. I know you had to try one or the other, right?
Of course,
Okay. So
my roots are Louisiana.
I know the answer to that question,
Louisiana,
man.
come on, Popeyes, man, from Louisiana. Okay.
It's just something about, well, you know what? And I might need to send a a comment to Popeyes. They need to start making the breasts a little bit bigger like they first did it. Cause like when they ran out of supply, and then
Mhm.
all of a sudden this shuffle was going around on making a new supply of chicken sandwiches. It's like the
Yeah.
breasts have gotten smaller. Like they're really skimping on the meat, man. Like bring the meat back into that chicken sandwich, dude. That's what got you there in the first place. You know what I mean?
Right.
What's next for you, brother? You got so much going on, and I am so excited that uh, your success is really translated into results, man. What is next for you? What's going down Robert E. Lee's head right now?
Okay. Well, I'm gonna be working on a few films of my own. Um, one is there's an interesting story, a Louisiana story that I want to tell. So I'm going to be producing that. I have my comedy show, which is on hold right now,
Okay,
Laugh After Dark, on Amazon Prime. But I I have a podcast as well, which is called Do Tell with Laugh After Dark. So I'm doing that every week.
cool.
Um, and I'm not in it. It's the comedians, and we have a host, Charlie Wilson. Don't be mistaken by the actual Charlie
Yeah,
Wilson is
right.
singing, but no, but he's a great guy. He's from Louisiana as well, and so he sits down with comedians and they share funny stories and such. So I have that going. Um, Building my studio. I'm actually redesigning a new studio at a loft, and so that'll take a bit of my time. It'll be a hybrid studio, so we'll do filming there. I'll have my studio there. I will be bringing my beautiful piano that'll be coming there as well, and so that's kind of what's on the books for me. I want to get back into writing for an indie film. There's a black director out of Sacramento, another phenomenal musician as well, film a musician turned filmmaker. We're going to be collaborating on one of his films, so I'm very excited to do that. And other than that, wherever the wind takes me, I'm there.
Yeah, I can see that you got big aspirations, man. And I'm just, first of all, excuse me, thank you for even uh, wanting to be a guest on my show. I mean, literally, this is just at its infancy, and I'm already excited where it's about to go. And I
Yeah.
look at your career, man, and it's just so inspiring for me and for anybody watching. This dude is legit. This dude is legit. You know what I mean? And I can't say more great things about you, dude. I just really appreciate you coming on and speaking with me. Out of your busy schedule today. That means a lot.
Oh, no problem. Anything, man.
uh, hey, that's it. That's the second episode behind the glass, man. It just cut and dry. I'll see you on the next episode of Behind the Glass. I'm out of here, man.